Hello, listeners. You are watching and listening to Que Madre. We are here with Miss Brown from Pura Apothecary. We're so excited to have you with us today, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. I'm very excited to report that I got to attend the Valentine's Day or Galentine's Day sleepover, which was super fun. And oh yes, I forgot to mention, my name is Ana Rosa Rizo Centino, with you all on 96.5 FM KZAA. And I was letting folks know that I attended the sleepover, and it was such a joy to be there with so many amazing women and to just be sharing space and just being us, which is something that I feel like in areas like Santa Barbara is not necessarily always something that we can do and be, because it is such an affluent, you know, let's say pale area. So I've been a customer for Pura Luna for many years. And yeah, would just love for you to share a little bit about your vision and to thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Anna. I really appreciate it. I'm Ashe Brown. I am the owner of the Apothecary as well as co-owner of the Full Spiral Salon with my wife, Kristen. We are Oakland natives, but we have lived in Santa Barbara going on 19 years now. So I think we're pretty local. I think we earned that title. I'm an herbalist, a space holder, council facilitator, powerful manifester, serial entrepreneur, mother, wife, community member, like all the things. So it's an honor to be on the show. This is my second time here. The first time was probably like 5 years ago. So thank you again for having me.
Yeah, last time I think you got interviewed by Jess.
I did, yes. And I think that was in person at like a place down on the east side.
Yes, La Casa de la
Yes,
Rosa.
that's the one.
Yeah, so you're back for a second time, and I'm so glad that I get to be the one to interview you this time since I was not able to be present for the first time. So I just feel like there's so much that I have to learn from you and that everyone has to learn from you. You're super inspiring and you've done so much, and you're still very young. So just would love to hear from you, like how you manifested this, because it's just been beautiful to watch unfold.
Thank you so much. Um, well, I think for me, manifest is like I host this new moon manifestation group every year. I just did my third one this year, and just the magnitude of actually like really holding a vision and then speaking your vision to existence as if it's already here and really embodying the feeling of what that manifestation looks like. You kind of create this vibration that attracts it to you. So that's kind of how I've always lived is I will receive downloads or I'll have a vision of something come to me and I will feel what it will feel like to have that thing. And then when you have that energy, it's just the law of attraction. It just starts to kind of come together. And so this is how Pura Luna kind of evolved. And I love the way, with the accent, Pura Luna sounds. When I created that particular vision, it was right as I was in herbalism school and understanding the power of plants and really wanting other people to have access to those tools. And part of that for me was also not having access to it here in Santa Barbara and also not feeling like there was a community for me in Santa Barbara. At that time, I had lived here for maybe about 14 years. I was just feeling a bit isolated. We were pregnant with our kid. And it was just like time to really create something new. And at first I was very shied away from being the like creator of this like big magnet, big like vision of holding this space and creating this space. But the minute I just trusted the path that, spirit, the universe kind of aligned for me and great gave me that vision, everything came together really like fast and very smoothly. So it's been a real blessing to be able to tap into the power of manifestation, and it's something really beautiful to be an artist and a creator, to see your visions come to life and then they're still thriving 5 years later.
Yeah, and I love that Full Spiral Salon is also part of the vision, because when I first met
Yes.
you, I believe you were doing hair for my friend Shelly for her wedding with Bernie.
Yes. Yes.
So that was how long ago was that? That was like what, 10 years ago or something?
Yeah, I think about 10 years ago. Yes. Yep.
Yes. So it's been cool to see kind of both visions growing at the same time. So Um, how can you talk about our plant allies to listeners who may not have heard that term before? Because we know that
Sure.
there's plants and we know that there's herbs, but you all have been the first people that have introduced me to the term plant allies and how we
Sure.
can integrate them into our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of my herbalism practice is not just to see plants as something that does the medicinal side, like it's very black and white. Like I think in Western medicine, it's like you take this pill, it does this. With plants, there is the medicinal body, there's the energetic body, and then there's the spiritual body of it. And when we are able to create relationships with plants, we kind of unlock, it's like the lock and key that allow us to feel supported in our human experience. And for me to have a plant as a plant ally, it means that I know that I can always tap into the spirit of that plant, and I don't necessarily have to ingest it in order for me to receive the medicine that it has. So like right now it's spring and oat straw is growing like a weed. Same thing with nettle, same thing with mugwort, like all of these, which are now my allies, is because I've sat with these plants. I've sat next to them and meditated with them. I have ingested their medicine before and had really profound journeys with them. And then they start to get to know you and your DNA and your spiritual body. And then wherever you are, you can always call in that ally to support you. So if I'm with oat straw, like oat straw is a really beautiful nervine that helps to support frazzled nerves, anxiety, feeling like you're going to break, but like need something to just like calm you down. So if ever I'm in that moment and I don't have oat straw, the tincture or the tea with me, I can literally just call in the spirit of oat straw, remember, see it in my mind's eye, feel its spirit kind of joining me. And I instantly have this like, I'm okay. I can do this, and I feel my nerves calm down. And it's also really great when you do have these allies, you know what can support you if you want to create a cup of tea. If I know that I'm going to go into a very high stress situation, I can say, okay, I'm going to drink holy basil or tulsi today because it's an adaptogen. And adaptogens help our bodies cope with stress. So I can prepare for the day ahead by knowing which ally is supportive of me and having this like really beautiful relationship that allows me to know that I'm not doing this alone.
Is that what's in your anti-anxiety tea?
That's the one. That's the main
Okay, because
ingredient
I
is
have it in my
Ostra.
kitchen right now.
Yes, yes, love that.
Yeah, and I want to thank you so much. You offered some of those teas to women of color in the community over the last few years that have been very trying times during the triple pandemic that's been happening. So just always love how you give back to the community. It means a lot.
Thank you so much. It's the least we can do. Like this community is truly something special. And yes, it may be, on the outside looking in very homogenized, but when you get peel back the layers, there's a very rich culture of really incredible humans here in Santa Barbara. And so it's really lovely to be able to support them while they support us in our business and thrive. Yes.
Yes, and you're doing this with your whole family, right? So that's really cool to watch too.
Absolutely. Yes, it has been a blessing. Quest was born at the same time as the Apothecary. And then, my wife's career as a curly specialist has just like taken off. And, our COVID pivot was to put our businesses in the same building. And it's been a really big change, but it also has been a really big blessing to support, women, especially because we hold a lot of trauma in our hair, especially if we've had curly hair, and people butchering it or cutting it too short or straightening it or telling it it's too nappy or whatever it is. And so it's really been beautiful to kind of help, you know, humans heal from head to toe and literally have a service as well as the tools behind them.
Yeah, I've been to Full Spiral Salon too, and it was so nice to um, have the experience of like the acceptance of my hair because I feel like so many other places they always tell me, "Oh, your hair's too long or too thick or too this or too that," and it's just like, no. When I came there, it just felt like everything that I was bringing into through those doors was okay and accepted, and that's to me that's a big
Yes.
deal.
Absolutely. We like to encourage the come as you are. And also, there's no such thing as too much information. Like, we're shamed so much around what we carry in our experiences that like there are very few places where especially I feel it sometimes in Santa Barbara where you can come in and be completely accepted just as you arrive and not have to feel like you have to show up for appearances or hide your truth.
And so, and you do this from head to toe because we're talking about hair, but also you all do something that I don't think is provided in the rest of the Santa Barbara community, which is vaginal steaming. Can you let listeners know kind of a little bit more about what that is and um, how they can access that?
Sure. Yeah. When we were in our old building, our old location, we did have a whole room that was called the Yoni room, and we did Yoni steaming. And we don't have that anymore. Like our new space is not conducive to holding that service. And with the pandemic, it was just hard to kind of like figure out how to safely create that sacred like service, but we do provide the herbs to do that, and really encourage women to utilize this like really like ancient modality. It's used all around the world. Our ancestors definitely used it. It is basically a practice of utilizing herbs and the steam from herbs to basically hover over them. There are special like boxes and stools that you can sit, or you can literally like just like sit at the edge of your seat or at the edge of your couch and drape yourself with a cloak or a sheet. And it's a really relaxing practice, and there's not very many relaxing, rejuvenating healing practices that we have for our our vulvas and our yonis and all of that. Like usually we're like tuck in and pull in and shaving this area. So what's the like therapeutic way of really supporting that area and dealing with feminine issues without having to go directly to the Western gynecological approach. So it's really like a predominantly used service, especially for postpartum. So I can speak from experience of that with my wife after she gave birth to Quest. My wife had a really like big tear and lost a lot of blood, and it was like a really kind of a scary experience for her. And the only thing that our midwife was suggesting was sitz baths, and sitz baths are great because they are basically herbs that you sit in and you just kind of like soak in those herbs. But she wasn't healing, and so after 4 days of just trying what the midwife suggested, I was like, sweetie, I know that this is like something that has been really like used all around the world and that it could be really helpful. So we got her to steam. And what was really beautiful about that is that like her stitches healed really fast. And usually it takes about 6 weeks for all the birth matter and bleeding to stop postpartum. That was done within a week. So it just really expedited that. And then what's also really beautiful is there's no other like no other practice that actually like hits the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is like the central nervous system, but it helps to be very relaxing. And so what happens there is like once you relax that area, the steam hits that vagus nerve and the nerve endings there, and it creates more breast milk and creates that oxytocin and serotonin and all that. So she was able to bond with our kid and like have all the ample supply of milk. So that's one way of using it. It's also just a really beautiful practice for just supporting the overall women's cycle. So a lot of women, especially if you were to go to like a spa in Koreatown and go to the Korean spa, they do offer yoni steaming there. It's not necessarily the most like soft and tranquil experience. I've heard some really like interesting experiences that people have had, but Korean women will use it post period. So on the last day of their period or after their period is over, it's just a really beautiful way of just kind of clearing out, starting over, refreshing. And then also for women who have had like hysterectomies or postmenopause, this is also a really beautiful way to create more circulation and have a relationship with your body that is cyclical. So some women will steam every full moon as part of like really honoring the moon that they once had. So it's just a really like awesome practice. And when you do it correctly, you will find that it's incredibly relaxing. We love to do that like right before bed and then go to sleep, and you have the best sleep ever. So that's a little bit about that.
That's very cool because I just feel like as women, there's so much shame addressed to like our bodies and our sexuality, everything about it. And so I think
Yes.
bringing to light these practices really helps to just get rid of that, and to love ourselves and be intentional about caring for ourselves. And you all provide a lot of different ways to care for ourselves as women. Can you share a little bit more about what some of the other ones are?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the main pillar and for, why we exist is also besides to like creating community and holding sacred space. Like that's something that we recently just brought back in post COVID is like gathering again, which I'm so happy because I felt like that was such a missing link for me as a space holder and as someone who loves to curate healing experiences. But on the like shop side, we carry a lot of different items that are just natural alternatives to support women, especially with, moon cycle, menopause, hot flashes, everything. So if you're not a tea drinker, we also have tinctures. Tinctures are just basically herbs extracted into a menstruum, which could be glycerin, it could be apple cider vinegar, it could be alcohol. And it's just a really great way to have, again, another alternative. I hate using the word alternative because it's like, what is alternative? It's just another way of supporting your body in a more holistic setting. We offer that. We also offer crystals for more like energy healing that bring different properties into your home or to your body if you choose to wear it. We also, use a lot of aromatherapy. So we have, sprays, and part of our intentionality around our product line is to be able to support people with their mental health. And so there's like affirmation myths, things that remind you that when you spray it and you say this affirmation, you're affirming what you're calling in. We carry a lot of different books and candles, and it just continues to keep expanding on what we can provide to just support, again, our feminine experience, but just our experience just in this world. It's just a little bit crazy right now. So if there's ways, well, in general, if there's ways for us to support ourselves, that we have access to, that is that's what we're really there to provide.
And you provide so much to the community. What do you do to kind of recharge and make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your family?
Great question. I just did a panel for the Mujeres Market over the weekend. I did a summit, and my topic was mindfulness and self care. And I felt like it was such a full circle experience for me because honestly, I have had to learn the hard way of what me not taking care of myself, how that is so detrimental. It has causes all sorts of like just disharmony and sometimes, ailments in my body, and then also reminding myself of the practice. So I got really good at self-care just before Quest was born. Like just before Quest was born, I was like queen of self-care. I knew how to take time off, ask for what I needed, had better boundaries. And this was like right in the height of my herbalism. So that's the thing about when you have plant allies and you work with these plants. Like I remember I was working with nettles, and like I've never had strong boundaries. And that's also like lack of boundaries is a lack of self-care. It's also a lack of self-love. So I'm realizing all of these things that are like a part of my practice and my work in the world. But when I was working with nettles, it was like boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. So I had really good boundaries when I was working with nettles, and like with oat straw, I was like, I was very dialed in to what spirit, nature, the plants, like was trying to teach me. And then of course life happens. Now you're a new mom. Now I'm a new business owner. Now I'm trying to build a business and also raise a kid and support my wife, and like had all these hats and all these things I'm juggling, and ended up just like burning the candle at both ends, pouring from an empty cup, only to completely deplete myself. And then in 2020 had a major diagnosis that took me out of my business and forced me to self-care, forced me to be mindful, forced me to go back to those practices that I had like dialed in 3 years ago. And so this, for me, I was grateful for that time because, if there's anything that I want to always be is like through any sort of challenge, triumph, success, painful, whatever experience I have, it just allows me to be of greater service because we're all going through different things, and we all forget to be in our practice around these things. And so now, post all of the cards falling down for me and having to deal with a major health issue and make some really radical choices for my body that I never thought I'd have to make, I now understand the importance of self-care. I now understand the importance of boundaries. I now understand what stepping fully into the present moment has the most magnitude in our daily practice, in our experience. When I was at the summit, someone said, I heard someone say that, anxiety is, stemmed from really being in the future and like being completely unknown, like being in the unknown, being in the void and not trusting it, right? And that creates anxiety, like what's going to happen. And then depression can be stemmed from the past and holding on to old traumas and old wounds and repeating a cycle. But when we fully step into the present moment, none of that really exists, because when we just like tune into our breath and tune into the feeling of the wind on our skin and the sensations in our body and just like take a mindful moment, everything's fine right here and now. So it's like when we really like create that practice, we start to like let go of those things that keep us in the tethering of depression and anxiety. And it's going to come up, but it's a practice to be here and now. And then with the self-care piece, you know, it's like that's such a buzzword on social media. Oh, I took a bath, like whatever. It's more than that, you know. It's like for me, last year April was such a huge month for me, so much happening for me personally. And because I can be such an overgiver and also like kind of a control freak in the sense of just like wanting to make sure like with the business it's okay. And you know, we had a new staff showing up and like all these things. um my staff saw that I was going through a lot and was like, actually, we want to give you the gift of like taking the month of April off. And normal me would be like, oh no, it's fine, like I can handle all of this. And I just said yes, and I took the month of April to just be with myself. That was my self-care, was to put my oxygen mask on, because who am I really being of service for when I'm not fully present, when I'm also like feeling like completely drained of my energy, and when I'm my like, you know, when I know I need this time and space. So it's that, it's, you know, it doesn't have, and for a lot of us out there, we can't just like take a month off. You know, that is such a huge privilege and a blessing to be able to do that. It could also just, you know, be that you know, just taking time for yourself and like literally being with yourself and in the stillness is part of my self-care practice. That is like hiking or even just sitting in my sacred space. Like these are the things that we can do to keep ourselves in harmony.
Yeah, it would be so awesome if we could all take sabbaticals, but I feel like that's something that only academia really provides, with a few other exceptions. Like I know Cause is a nonprofit organization that actually does have a sabbatical policy, but that's not very common. So when you first had to deal with your health issues, was that the first time you went to Costa Rica, or how was that retreat birthed? How did that come to be? Because I know Ellie's going to be going to your Costa Rica retreat later on this year.
Yeah. Well, hosting retreats has always been a dream of mine. My first time going to Costa Rica was in, how many years ago was that? Maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And I actually went on a vacation with my wife for the first time, and then we were instantly like, love this place. How can we like live part time here? And then that kind of like dwindled. And then at the time, I was going through a battle with infertility. I didn't know that I was infertile because I had chemo when I was younger, when I had cancer. Nobody told me that. So I was just like swimming uphill, trying to force my body to do something that it was never meant to do in this lifetime. And that spiraled me. And then I was depressed, and then I was anxious, and I was just like, just lost myself. So I was called to go back to Costa Rica. And that's actually where I started my herbalism. That's where I started to get to know plants. That's where plant medicine, and not the psychedelic kind, just working with the land and working with the plants that grow naturally. That's where I got my first taste of it and started and really like saw the change in me. And it just kept coming back and working with those plants until I decided to also learn what grows naturally around us. And they say that the best medicine grows around us. And I was totally like, nope, I'm going to Costa. So once I discovered Western herbalism and really working here, I've always had this vision and this dream of hosting retreats. And I didn't know where to begin because this was pre, you know, the Apothecary, pre us hosting full moon gatherings. Like, who was I? I didn't, you know, I didn't know how to hold space. But years of, you know, working with community and really honing in on my, you know, holding space skills, that I finally birthed my Costa Rica retreat last year, and it was a phenomenal experience. That we were thrown so many curveballs. My retreat is called Elemental Healing, and it's all about really understanding the nature within us, but also the nature around us, but with the earth, the air, the fire, the water, and spirit, and how we are a beautiful culmination of all of it. And when we are imbalanced in our water, when we're imbalanced in our earth, all of those things, it really puts us in a it really doesn't allow us to fully like integrate healing and feeling in harmony with our own rhythms and also in the harmony of our world. And so it's a whole integration thing, and it's really like such a powerful portal for everyone. And I'm really excited to host it again this year. It's happening June 29th through July 7th. We only have 2 spots left, and I'm so excited to include Ali on this. And last year we were thrown a hurricane right before our retreat started. And what was really beautiful about it was like the elements were really talking to us. Like everything was like, there was so much happening in the weather patterns, the rain, the sunshine, but it was also so healing for people to witness, like when there's an overabundance of something or an under, you know, of something, how it can also throw us into, you know, disharmony. So all this to say, Costa Rica has been one of my healing places, and I just love that land. And every time I go, I come back changed. And that's what I love to bring my community there to also receive that healing and that transformation.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, we're also dreaming about doing just a local retreat somewhere on the Central Coast later on this fall. So
Nice.
hopefully, you all can be involved with that as well.
Please keep us posted. I love that. Yes, we need more local things, and that's also something I'm like, I'm trying to plan one in Ojai in the fall. So yeah, we'll see. We'll have
Okay,
to collaborate. Yeah.
cool. Awesome. So today is actually Mexican Mother's Day, and the traditional Mother's Day is upcoming this weekend. Tell us more about your journey as a mother.
Yes, my journey as the mother. Well, I was really blessed to have two wombs in our family. My wife and I have been together for 21 years, and for those 7 years that I tried to conceive, that wasn't meant for my body. So I've had to do a lot of acceptance around that, which I know a lot of women suffer with infertility or just having trouble getting pregnant and achieving that success. And so that's also another beautiful challenge that allowed me to also greater serve that community. And my wife birthed our kid into the world, and being a mother is like such a huge honor and such a huge responsibility. And my kid Quest did not come into this lifetime to play. They chose their moms very well. We hold a beautiful container for this kid to really be in their freedom and in their expression. And I use a lot of gender neutral language because Quest was born female, but is very identified as a boy and will correct any adult and any person who misgenders them. And this is at 5 years old, and this started when they were 4. And Quest knows that they are both. So if somebody were to ask, "Are you a boy or a girl?" Quest will say, "I'm both," but I like to go by he, him, and sometimes I use he, him, or they pronouns. I'm mom, so if I slip up and say she, her, Quest does not, get mad at me. No, it's definitely a practice and a challenge with changing our heteronormative binary brains to figure that out. But motherhood has been something that has truly transformed me, and I'll never forget the initiation into motherhood and nobody really talks about the morning of who you were before you became a mother. And that hit me like a ton of bricks too, of just like, even my wife, it's like an identity loss of like, remembering who you were when you weren't somebody's mom, and then also who you are now that you're somebody's mom. And yeah, it has been quite a journey, and it's still just the beginning. And I just feel really incredibly blessed to have that as part of my title. And happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day. Yeah, your child seems so amazing, and I would love for our kids to have a play date at some time because I bet they would get along really, really well.
I would love that. Absolutely. Quest makes friends so easily. I'm so jealous. It's so cute to watch them just go up and just like, "Hey, you want to play?" I'm like, "Oh, love that. So good."
Gloria loves your shop. She's been there with me, and you have so many crystals, and she's really enamored with the crystals. Shavana is actually also
Yes.
very enamored with crystals. Maybe that's something you can also share more with our listeners about because it's a topic of curiosity that folks are not as aware of.
Yeah. So crystals are basically minerals and rocks that are really gorgeous that our earth actually produces. And there are some of them are man-made, and depending on which crystal or rock that you work with, it has a different vibration and energy. A lot of the energy and the vibration of it has to do with the color of it. So if you know anything about the chakra system, which usually are the colors are for all the way from red up to purple, so all the colors of the rainbow, will kind of share with you how it can kind of help with certain parts of the body, with certain energies, with certain ways of like being in the world, showing up, spiritual enlightenment, all sorts of different things. So working with crystals has been a really beautiful thing. They're not only are they beautiful, but like when you really charge them up under the full moon and set intentions with them, they are really supportive in maintaining your goals or your affirmations or the things that you're seeking in your life. They also are really great for calming the nervous system or even just changing the entire energy of a room. So yeah, crystals are fascinating. And just like your Gloria Quest also loves crystals and has them all over his room. And it's just like, it's a really special thing to have a connection. Again, these are our allies as well. And these beautiful crystals and rock formations definitely provide something. In our ancestors, I can only imagine the first cave that was walked into that was just like full of all these like shiny, incredible things, like, and then just the lineage and the history that is passed on, just really beautiful.
Yeah, Siobhan has an altar full of crystals at her home.
Hmm.
And I know that when I started working with selenite, like just to like clear
Yes.
my energy, it definitely made a difference.
It's huge. Selenite is one of the more like power stones in the crystal world, just because it's got such a high vibration that it can clear the energy of your other crystals. We used to have this like giant, like huge one that was maybe like 16, 18 inches long and really thick. And I would just have my customers close their eyes and not tell them what I was doing. And I would just like start at their crown of their head, then go down, and they would be like, whoa, what is that feeling? And then they'd open their eyes and it'd be this giant selenite. Like you can feel it. It's like wild.
Yeah, I'm very drawn to rose quartz, and I always charge it for the full moons. What does that say? Like,
Hmm.
why am I so drawn to rose quartz?
Well, rose quartz is the universal love stone. So it's love of self, it's love of others, it's to increase that love. One thing that I've been working with a lot of rose quartz as well, because I just realized that a lot of the things that have been my challenges in my own healing experience is changing the narrative around how I choose to love myself, all of myself. Like, yes, I can show up confidently. Yes, I can, all of those things. But if my narrative when I'm looking in the mirror is constant criticism, that's not self love. And that's just a tear down of like, this beautiful body that I get to, inhabit in this experience. But when the narratives aren't right, that's a lack of self love. So working with rose quartz just really supports that, like, ability to love yourself through anything, and then also call in that love. And like, love is like the greatest power, the greatest drug on the planet. Like, if we all just like took a hit of love every day and like just spread love to everyone, the world would be a different place. And so working with that energy is just like, it just keeps you in alignment when the world tries to take it away from you. Like, there's a lot of things that want to take away our love, to create a lot of darkness and shadow, and this is like, love is so bright and so loving that rose quartz is a great energy to bring into it.
Yes. Now, full moons. I feel like people might not know why they have different names. Like, I think we just had a full moon that's called the flower full moon. Um,
Hmm.
what's the labeling around full moons?
So the flower full moon is because this is when all the flowers come up. So we're now in the super bloom. This is the spring. So the flower moon really like directly correlates to that. Like, I think this next one is like the buck moon. That has to do with something with like the deers. Like, I don't know like the full ancient truths, and there's like several different types. And then there's like the harvest moon in the fall when we're harvesting all of our crops and reaping the benefits of an abundant summer. So it just depends on, it has correlated with the seasons, and also like what's going on in nature that supports that name of those moons.
Yeah, because I feel like my cycle, depending on the moon, like it
Yeah.
changes. And people might think that's weird, but I mean, if the full moon and the moon in general has the power to change the tides, why wouldn't they have an impact on us as women, right?
Oh, no, that's so real. Like, we're 70 to 75% water. And whenever the moon is full, it brings all the water to the surface. It literally, like you said, pulls the tide. So it brings up our waters. It can release our waters. It can make us cry. It can make us start our cycles. And there's also, a really strong belief around when you start your period, whether it be on a full moon or a new moon. Like, generally, most women will start on the new moon. And that is the energy of going within, going dark, being still, getting rest, nourishing yourself. But some women, like when I used to have a cycle, I would start on the full moon. And that was because my body knew it needed extra energy in order to continue to push and like do the work. And so just noticing where your cycle is aligned, that's your body telling you, like, if it's supporting you in the efforts that you're doing, then you're starting on the full moon. If your body is asking for rest, it will literally pivot and be on the new moon telling you to sit the fuck down. So just really tune in to what your body's messages are, because these are our cues.
Okay. Now, why is it that women, if they hang out with each other long enough, they're cycles will align a lot of the times. Like, is that just coincidence, or like, why does that happen?
No, that's definitely a natural fact. I think it's all hormones. Like we all pick up on our hormonal cycle, and then we just kind of like end up, yeah, cycling together. That definitely is something that happens.
Because it's weird, Jess and I, even though she lives,
I'm not about the scientific reason, but there is definitely that definitely happens.
yeah, because it's
Huh?
funny with Jess, even though she lives like miles and miles away from me in like San Diego County, a lot of times we'll notice that our cycles are still aligned even after she's been like gone from the area for years now.
Oh wow, wow! You guys are just like moon sisters.
Yes, something like that.
Yes.
So, what would you like to share with our listeners that people might not know about you?
Oh, that's a interesting question. There's so much because nobody really knows me, right? Um, what would you? I I really that's such a general question.
Hobbies, maybe, that you like that people might not think that you like?
Sure. Well, okay, like if I'm like today read my horoscope and it was like, let your individuality shine. Like don't hide behind your weirdness or what makes you different. I grew up being like the weirdo in my like school. Like I just was like, I've loved rock music. Most people don't look at me and think that I like love rock music. Like I have like a total rock heart at, and like I'm a total rocker at heart. I also like really I love tattoos. I have a lot of tattoos. I love art. I love to paint. I love watercolor. I love to ride my bike. I ride bikes all the time. I'm a freak of nature. I love nature so much. I came here for photography and now I don't do photography at all, but I love photography. I what else? I don't know. I just try to really live a full life that allows me to embrace my differences and not see them as differences, but see them as like superpowers, see them as like a uniqueness because I feel like there's so much of in the world of wanting to make everybody look the same and want this type of body and want this type of hair and want this type of look and I always experiment with that as a previous makeup artist. I retired as a makeup artist last year. And I like to play around with my makeup and wear colors and like just do fun things. So I don't know. I don't know if that makes me different or if that's anything that was interesting, but that's a little
All
bit
of it's
about me.
interesting. I just think it's funny though with um, rock and roll is black music, and people don't often
Truly,
give it credit for being black music, but it is.
it
Like
is,
everyone that Elvis Presley was inspired by were black people, even though he gets
right?
credit for being the godfather of rock and roll. Um, it's really more like James Brown. So,
Right? No, it's real.
yeah.
I used to have a friend who used to do African dance to rock music because it's like the drum beat and like everything. Like you can really get it. So it's ancestral for sure.
Yes. And so, how'd you go from photography to painting? I love both, but I didn't know you painted, so that's very intriguing to me.
Yeah, well, I came to Santa Barbara to go to Brooks when it was still a school here. RIP to Brooks. I was very into photography in high school. And then I went to business school in Arizona and I was bored. And part of me like at my like 19-year-old self, if I knew I was going to be a businesswoman, but I feel like I learned the hard way around business by not having a business degree. But that's just part of my experience too. Like I kind of leap first and then ask questions later. So that was kind of the same thing that I did with photography school was like, well, I love this hobby in high school. Like maybe I'm not meant to be business. Maybe I'm supposed to be an artist and then went into photography school and then realized like in order for me to graduate from this program I was going to be $300,000 in debt and I was like that's not the life for me. Do not want to be in debt. And so then I was a makeup artist. So painting and makeup artist are very hand in hand. Like if you were to see like I like to draw a lot of like faces but it what or not draw I like to paint a lot of faces but what you will always notice is that their eyes are always closed. Why are their eyes closed? Because my makeup artist background, this is how I paint people with their eyes closed, doing their makeup. So like I'll be able to I paint a lot of faces with their eyes closed because that's just like visually how I see my canvas.
Oh,
So yeah, my makeup artistry background has supported me in wanting to work with different mediums around painting, not just faces, but actually painting canvases and different art pieces. So that's kind of how they kind of bridge together.
that's so cool. I would always like look at paint or makeup artists and be like, I want to do that because I have so much trouble. I always just do the same thing. I do winged eyeliner and I do red lipstick. Like that's my
It,
thing.
that's your staple. Hey, that's the look. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah,
What would you
makeup is a lot
suggest
of
for me if I
fun.
was going to try something different though?
Try a different like a different color bold lip. Like I feel like a deeper like maroon would look really pretty, or even an orange for the summertime, or like yeah, like something fun for eyeshadow. Like maybe even thickening the liner a little bit. So trying like a fuller or a like I'm a blush person, so I would put blush on you right away. Like I just love blush. I'm always very blushy. Like my employees will call it the Ashe blush because I just like always look like a cute little cherub every day.
Aw. Yeah, I got a blush set, Bridgerton blush set. Wow, that's like a tongue twister. It has like a peach one in it, and it has like a pink, like very pink one, and then
Yeah.
like a more of a brownish one. And I'm always playing with the different colors, but I mostly do it at home. I don't actually go out with it.
Try going out with it this summer. It'd be so cute on you. You
Yeah.
got great cheekbones.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you, thank you. What made you retire from makeup artistry?
Great question. Kristen and I, that was our first business. We started that when we were 24 and 25, and we were a very well-known on-location wedding hair and makeup company here in town, very busy. It became very challenging to plan a life, especially after having Quest. We were being booked a year in advance. So like brides would be reaching out right now for their 2024 wedding, and we'd be looking at our calendar and seeing that every single weekend we'd be booked, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And sometimes, especially because Santa Barbara is such a wedding destination, we'd be booked during the week. Um, so that was part of it, is wanting to be able to control my schedule and also to have a life that has weekends involved and to be able to travel when we want. And that's the lifestyle that Kristen and I live, is we are blessed to be able to say, you want to go do this weekend, but we couldn't do that. The other thing was, it stopped bringing me joy. When you really step into your purpose work and what you're here to do, the things that you did because they were lucrative and they were successful no longer feel soul satisfying to you. As much as I love, like I'm a great makeup artist, and I'll toot my horn on that. I'm a really good makeup artist. I'm like excellent at what I do, and I needed to be able to make room for what was being called of me and what was my passion work, and not just doing something because it creates money. Yes, it's an extra stream of income, but it wasn't providing the soul nourishment that I was seeking. The other thing is, a lot of the times I was finding that women would sit in my chair and it becomes the self-deprecation hour with me. Oh my God, can you make my face look slimmer by contouring me? I hate the size of my nose. Can you do this? Can you, like, is this your magic wand? And like, just these women in my chair needed healing more than they needed makeup. So that for me, I was just like, I don't want to be a part of this culture that is using makeup to hide who we are or to fix something that where nothing's wrong. For me, makeup is an enhancement. It's a way of adorning myself. It's a way of expressing. But when it becomes a way of you hiding who you are or becoming something that you're not because you truly don't love yourself, that for me was no longer an aligned choice of work for me.
So what's the next level for Ashe?
It's so funny that you say that, because right now that is my through line right now, and that is what spirit and the universe and the astrology that I'm in right now is like all about my vocation. I feel like for these past 5 years I have hid behind the Apothecary's platform, and when I say hid behind, like you'll see my face all over our social media. I have no problem hopping on camera. Like there's not this like I this hiding from you know what I've created outside of myself. But here I am working, doing so much work on who I am and having all these incredible like challenges and life experiences that I have so much wisdom to share. And I don't even have a platform for my own voice. And so that for me is my work right now is to really elevate my own personal voice, my own story, the things that I have experienced and went through in these last, my entire life, and to be able to greater serve through my own platform and through my own vocation. And so part of it is getting Pura Luna into a place of like understanding what the next level is. So whenever you have a business, 5 years is such a huge milestone because it's like you made it. Most businesses don't make it past 5 years, especially small businesses, and especially through a pandemic and all the fires that we've had. Like we've been through some shit, y'all, and we're still here. And for me personally, it's like I want to be able to support, people, humans, women, femmes, whatever, in their experience around so many things. And so what does that look like for me in order for me to help them and not necessarily be associated with the shop, and so remains to be seen. I have so many visions on creating more experiences. Like I said, for me, creating healing experiences, curating sacred space, holding space, allowing for there to be these incubators, these containers for healing. That is my passion work. That is where I thrive. And then being of support to other humans in their experience, and, through guidance and through, suggestions and through offering tools, and all of those things are part of my passion work. So now I'm actually starting a whole like program tonight. It starts today at 5 o'clock, where it's all about like a capsule of like what's next for me. So everybody stay tuned. In the meantime, Pura Luna is not going anywhere. We are holding a lot of new spaces and doing a lot of really fun things and bringing the community back together. And just grateful for the support and just like holding the vision for the next best thing, whatever that is for me. I'm that my wife just said something to me last night. She's like, what's really inspiring to me about you, Ash, is like, you will acquire all of these like skill sets and tools, and you'll take classes and you'll do these things, but you don't necessarily have like an end goal. She's like, most people, they go to college, I want to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a lawyer, and that's it. They just have that one track. For me, I'm like, I just want to be, she's like, because I'm a Cancer. So she's like, I see you with your crab claws, just grabbing different things and bringing it and putting it under your crab shell. So that way you can be of greater service and not necessarily knowing how it's going to plan out. And because she's been with me for 21 years, everything that I've acquired has supported me to get to this place right now. So right now I'm just in the place of acquiring more tools, creating more inspiration, and receiving the downloads, the spiritual messages of what's next for me, and trusting that and not feeling like I have to control that, manipulate that, or worry about how that's going to show up. It just is.
Okay, Ashe, I had a feeling you were a Cancer. I'm a Cancer too. When's your birthday?
I love it. I'm June 26th.
Okay, 7/11. Very cool.
Oh, you're 7/11? You're the third 7/11 that I know. I love that.
Oh, wow. I also
Yeah.
know 2 other 7/11, so I'm curious who your other 7/11 contacts are too.
Right? That's awesome.
Well, it's been such
Our
a joy
birthdays are
having
coming
you
up.
on the show again after 5 years.
Thank you.
You're our
Thank you so
first
much for having me.
return interviewee, so
Wow.
very excited to have you on. And we will also be having this on podcast form. So thank you for joining us. Everyone, this has been Ashe Brown from Pura Luna Apothecary and Full Spiral Salon. Definitely check them out. And we will see you next Thursday at 6 p.m.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Such an honor. Take care.
Take care.